Kindred UMC live show features adults discussing adult topics, occasionally with adult language. It may not be suitable for young viewers. Please use discretion before watching.
Hello all, welcome once again to the Kindred UMC pre-recorded live show, coming to you not live but pre-recorded from my front room, aka Kindred Studio. Hey, my name is Chris Hayden. I am the pastor of Kindred UMC.
Hi, I'm Courtney Young.
What are you going to say?
I'm the lay leader at Kindred UMC.
Oh, there you go.
Hello there. Get yourself some insoles for your shoes. It'll change your life.
God.
I agree. I'm with you. So we have, even though we have not yet done our Easter live show in real life, if you're seeing this, then you should go check out our Easter live show on our YouTube channel and or Facebook. And so now that means that we are post-Easter, where we are beginning a new sermon series. And I have decided, and this is very hard because I'm still planning for Easter, but I also have to plan the sermon series that's after Easter. It's a real mind something. So I've decided that because Easter, we've been doing a lot of Jesus New Testament-y stuff, and I like to balance it out. So we're going to be doing a study on the first 7 chapters of the book of Leviticus.
Oh boy.
Yes.
I do have to say I did steal a lot of this material from Rob Bell. He has an audio commentary that's very helpful and very educational, and I'm going to just call it what he called it because I think it's an excellent title. It's called Blood, Guts, and Fire: The Gospel According to Leviticus.
So the Viking gospel?
Yeah.
I feel like you've been waiting for a series like this.
I've been waiting for a series like this. Foreigner, look him up.
I've been waiting
for a series like this.
I called it Nor'easter, but I guess Blood, Guts, and Fire is better. But
Yeah, Blood, Guts, and Fire sound. Hopefully that'll get clicks.
way more better.
If you're not, please like and subscribe. It helps us out. So can I just ask, generally speaking, when you hear the book of Leviticus, as people who have been around the church, what comes to mind?
pansy asses. Because every time I've been in church or in a Bible study context...
They'll stone you for that.
That's fine. Every time I've been in church or in a Bible study context and any kind of questioning comes up about some of the questionable things that pop up in Leviticus, church people don't really want to touch it.
Ah, okay, I see.
I was going
to say, I think Leviticus is actually pretty hardcore.
I was going to say the opposite.
It's not Leviticus.
It's the people not wanting to address the complicated nature of Leviticus. Yes. Okay.
Nose down rule followers, which I'm dating one, and I'm looking at you, Toots.
We're looking at you, Toots.
Except for she doesn't think she's a rule follower.
Well, she is.
She follows
all the rules.
She is, but she's also a little agent of chaos.
I know. We love it.
Well, if others don't follow the rules, they're not allowed to. But
yes. So I'll tell you the thing that comes up for me. The first thing that comes up for me in Leviticus is that's the text that everyone quotes to say gay people shouldn't be gay.
Yeah.
It's Leviticus 18 and then Leviticus 22. That's the one they always bring up. And I'll just say up front, I think that is a gross misreading and misinterpretation of the book of Leviticus. And every time I've talked to people about that book who have quoted that at me about that issue, I've asked them about the book and they don't know caca. They don't know anything about the actual book and how it came to be and what it's about. So first, let's talk before we read the text, because literally over this series, we're going to do chapters 1 through 7, and all of those are specific chapters about offerings. They're how to give offerings. So here's the thing that you need to understand about Leviticus: it's not meant to be read like Genesis. Genesis is like a story, like. The word of God came to Abram and told him, take all of your possessions and all the people that serve you and go over there and to a place I'll show you. And then Abram does it. And it's this adventure that he goes and you're meant to just kind of read it like a story. Leviticus is not that at all. Leviticus is a cookbook. You would never, some I'm a home cook, and some nerds would actually sit down and read a cookbook and be like, oh, look what you can do with pork. But Leviticus is the way that most people would use a cookbook, which is, lamb shank was on sale, and so I got that. Let me look up a recipe. Oh, look, here's a good recipe. Do this and this and this, and then you end up with food. That's what the book of Leviticus is. The root of the word is Levite, which is literally the priestly tribe in Israel. And so it's a manual on how to conduct priestly duties. It's like an instruction manual or a cookbook. It's not like a storybook like most of the rest of the Torah. So we're gonna read. I'm gonna read chapter 1. It's going to read like I'm reading instructions for several recipes. So just prepare thyself. It's going to be a little dry, okay? But then we're going to talk about it because it actually has some pretty significant implications. So this is Leviticus chapter 1, verses 1 through all of the chapter. Here it goes. The Lord, every time it's capital L-O-R-D, it's the name of God, Yahweh. So Yahweh summoned Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when any of you bring an offering of livestock to Yahweh, you shall bring your offering from the herd or from the flock. If the offering is a burnt offering from the herd, you shall offer a male without blemish. You shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting. This is the tabernacle. This is like, because they don't have a temple or a country yet. They've just been freed from slavery, so they have like a traveling tent. And that's so the tent of meeting is where the tabernacle is. So you bring to the tent of meeting for acceptance in your behalf from before Yahweh. You shall lay your hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be acceptable in your behalf. That's such confusing language. It's in your behalf a lot, and I always want to say on your behalf.
Can I interject?
No. Go ahead.
This is a big thing in Latin. When I was learning Latin, the translation from Latin to English, because it wasn't one-to-one, there's always something, and look it up.
Something like awkward.
Anything in the Romance languages, or especially like Asian language, like Chinese and Mandarin and blah, blah. Nothing is one-to-one. So trying to explain something as like, should it be on or in?
Yeah, and this is some like old Hebrew that's being translated into English. And also this is an old English translation too. It's New Revised Standard Version. Yeah. So it's not like exactly modern. So anyway, okay. So the burnt offering, it shall be acceptable in your behalf as atonement for you. The bull shall be slaughtered before the Lord, and Aaron's sons, the priests, those are the Levites, Aaron's sons, the priests, shall offer the blood, dashing the blood against all sides of the altar that is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The burnt offering shall be flayed and cut up into its parts. The sons of the priest of Aaron, the Levites, shall put fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. Aaron's sons, the priests, shall arrange the parts with the head and the suet on the wood that is on the fire on the altar. But its entrails and its legs shall be washed with water. Then the priest shall turn the whole into smoke on the altar as a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Lord. I want you to pay attention to that pleasing odor. That's going to be a thing. But you can hear it like it sounds like a recipe. It's like, yeah, you take the bull, you cut it up this way, you take these parts, you dash the blood over here, you wash these, you barbecue these, because when they say burnt off, they're talking about barbecuing basically. They're preparing it for like cooking and eating, and that's why it smells good. The pleasing odor, and one of the important things is, if you do this, it pleases the Lord, which is something that's different from how every other sacrifice and every other god worship from Egypt, where they just came from, was understood. This is a guarantee that if you do these things, God's happy. You don't have to worry about it. So we go on. If your gift for the burnt offering is from the flock, from the sheep or goats, your offering shall be a male without blemish. It shall be slaughtered on the north side of the altar before Yahweh, and Aaron's sons, the priests, shall dash its blood against all sides of the altar. It shall be cut up into its parts with its head and its suet, and the priest shall arrange them in the wood with that is on the fire on the altar. But the entrails and the legs shall be washed with water. Then the priest shall offer the whole and turn it into smoke on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering by fire that is pleasing odor to Yahweh, to the Lord. So same thing again. It's like, if you do it this way, God will be pleased. You can count on God's pleasure at this act. Finally, if your offering to Yahweh is a burnt offering of birds, you shall choose your offering from turtle doves or pigeons. The priest shall bring it to the altar and wring off its head. That's how my grandmama grew up on the farm. That's how you kill the chickens. You grab the head and you wring it. And it's very quick, very painless, and very low tech. And so, that's how they killed the birds. You grab, and then it's done. No pain, quick and over. It's like how we do lobsters now. Anyway, all right, I digress. The priest shall bring it to the altar, wring off its head, and turn it into smoke on the altar, and its blood shall be drained out against the side of the altar. He shall remove its crop with its contents, that's like the entrails, and throw it to the east side of the altar in the place for ashes. He shall tear it open by its wings without severing it. Then the priest shall turn it into smoke on the altar, on the wood that is on the fire. It is a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Lord. And that's the end. So we have 3 recipes, basically, in this chapter. So first of all, just what's your initial first reaction to... Because some of that's kind of gruesome.
I was going to say, that's my first... It's all very... Ugh.
Yeah.
So is cooking.
Yeah, well, and
so is handling raw
cooking
meat.
doesn't give me the ick.
Yeah, modern cooking, we don't kill our meat. Right. We buy it. We buy it already butchered mostly. But this is, you have to bring in a live animal and then they have to kill it, And there is something a little gruesome about it, but that I want to lift that up because that's a modern day affectation. Back then, this is all incredibly humane and like everyday life, and this is like if you had chicken wings and you were like cutting them in half to fry them. Like it's just normal part of prep.
An amenity. I think I'm saying that.
Amenity.
An amenity of the past, while our amenity now is I'm going to go into Publix and buy a 20-pound bag of chicken wings and
they're all
do that
for you.
Versus,
yeah. Nobody has to pluck any feathers. It's all taken care of.
Which a feathered chicken wing is not that bad.
Yeah, so it sounds gruesome by modern standards, but it's important to understand that original readers would not even this is actually thank you for the instructions. You indicated exactly what we're supposed to do. Thank you. The other thing I would like to point out to you is why do you think there are 3 recipes? Do you remember what they were? One's the herd, which is like cattle.
Yeah.
And the next one,
and the birds.
That's the last one. Is birds, and the one in between is of the flock. So like sheep, sheep or goat. Yeah. I have an answer to this, so I'm like, this isn't the best open-ended discussion.
They're all different meats.
But do you have any inclination about why there might be 3? Does it have anything to do
with the Trinity, maybe?
No, the Trinity is kind of a newer idea. Okay. Later, it comes later, centuries later.
3 is a big thing, though, so that was good.
3's always been a good thing in storytelling.
I thought it was bad things happened.
Cattle, flock, bird. What do you notice about those?
There are 3 different meats, is what I'm thinking.
Okay, 3 different meats.
But that's very physical thinking.
So here's the thing. Cattle, huge. Flock, medium. Bird, small.
Menu.
Everything. So there's an economic factor to this.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things that would happen when more primitive people were thinking about sacrificing to gods is they would be like, how do I please this God? Like we are desperately dependent on the rain. It must rain. The gods must send rain. And so they would, without any type of guarantee on how, you never know how the gods are feeling unless it rains. And so you're constantly like, okay, well, then I'll take 10% of my crops and I'll burn them and send it to the gods. And then it doesn't rain. And you're like, that wasn't enough. And it creates this kind of desperate human factor of sacrificing more and more and more. And taken to its extremes, historically, it led to things like human and child sacrifice. Because there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
Right.
And so here comes the gospel according to Leviticus, which is there's a God who's above all gods. There's a God who made everything. And you also have to remember this is in response to Exodus. So there's a God who's above everything, and he just proved it because he kicked the caca out of Egypt and their gods. Like this is and Egypt is like the United States of their day. They're like the most strong, powerful military ever. And Yahweh comes in and says, I'm making my people the lowest totem pole people in this society. They're going to be my people. And if you come after us, I'll slaughter you. And then he does it. And then he defeats all of the Egyptian theology, basically. Then he says, listen, you want to, and by the way, this first offering, it's called Olah. It literally means ascend, ascending in Hebrew. And it's because the smoke ascends. And it's an offering of joy and celebration and gratitude. And so the first thing that happens in the book of Leviticus is, hey, Israelite people, do you find yourself, and these are all optional, by the way. It's important to note that the first offerings in the book of Leviticus, they're not mandatory. They're not like a God saying, you'd better sacrifice these things to me every single week or I will be displeased. It's the opposite. It's God saying, I've rescued you. If you find yourself wanting to show gratitude to me, then here's what you can do. If you're rich, bring a cow. If you're, middle class, bring a sheep or a goat. And if you're poor, go get a dove. And actually next week we're going to look at, there's also grain offerings. That's that's a continuation of this. So there's an economic, and the thing that's important to note is that every single one of these, at every level, God is not more or less pleased. God is pleased if all you can afford is a turtle dove, then bring the turtle dove and know for certain that this God accepts and enjoys that offering, which is radically different from what the Israelite people had been experiencing. So I want to ask, what in your view, what do you think might be a modern interpretation or translation if you're taking that concept of God wants you to bring what you have, like, what might a 2022 offering be to a God who does not want to, but if you find yourself wanting to express gratitude and celebration to God, what might you bring as an offering?
In a capitalistic society full of busy bees and forced busy bees, meaning get your work done so you can do the next work. Like you're done to do the next. There's always something else to do.
Well, and again, that sounds like the Egyptian God, like keep going or it'll never be enough. It'll never be enough.
Stop. Yeah. So I think now it's stopping your process and giving time, which is now effort, because I don't have time. Do you have time? I don't have time to do anything.
We're going to talk a little bit about that with the grain offering too, because there's specific time implications with the grain offering.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's stopping your process and I get on your knees, whatever. Take 1 minute to offer some
I've been working with centering prayer, which is just spending a certain amount of time during the day where you're intentionally just being in the presence of God. And I'm not praying actively oh God, give me it, but I'm just literally trying to be in the presence of God.
Well, even if it's yelling at someone
I just started it, so we'll see how it goes.
Even if it's yelling at someone in traffic and going, hang on.
Yeah.
If I was that person, what? And then right there is your moment of seance or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I was going to go a different direction actually, and I was going to say the thing that made me think of was bringing your full self to the conversation, and not just with other people, but with God too. Any conversation.
Okay.
Any conversation you're having, whether that's in prayer, whether that's in Bible study, whatever that is, like being fully honest, bringing your whole self to the table, and not just like.
So that's the same vein, like stopping your thinking,
similar but
and
different.
listening to someone that's talking to you.
I would say there's something about taking the risk of. So, I heard this quote about a lot of people decide what they want and then they say or do whatever they can to get what they want, and a far better way to live life is to decide what you believe, knowing in humility that you will be wrong about things, and then taking the risk of saying what you believe to be true and accepting the consequences. And like, there's something about that of like, that's kind of what's behind bringing your whole self to the conversation. Now, again, it's important we do that humbly with humility, because we're wrong. You're wrong. I'm wrong. She's wrong. He's like, we're wrong. And we need to humbly acknowledge that we're wrong and that we don't know where we're wrong. And that's part of the reason we're taking the risk of bringing ourselves to the conversation, so that we can be shaped by each other. And also the same thing, as you said, applies with our relationship with God. Take the risk of being honest with God and bringing your full self as an offering to God, knowing that your full self is going to be subjected to some honing and some conviction, also like, and that's all in the context of grace and love and like acceptance, but it's also like, hey, I love you and let me help you. Here's where you need work.
And don't weaponize calling someone else wrong either.
Right.
From being humble.
Yeah, and
you're wrong. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that cuts both ways.
Yes.
Okay, so we're out of time. So please join us for next week for what we're talking about, grain offerings. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.